Yo, what's up? Coach Haas here, coming from you could call this Hassania Vlogs, but I don't really do these two consistently because, just haven't made the time. So if you're wondering, it's now 9:30. Why are my eyes like this? Well, first off, I'm tired as hell. I train people, I wake up at 3:30, start training people by 4:45. So sometimes you just look like that when you're up, for 6 hours or so. But I want to talk about some other stuff besides fitness, just some personal thoughts that I've been having, um, and some books that I'm reading. So first off, I'll just give you the books since it's right here. Stillness is the key. It's basically talks about, it's from Ryan Holiday. He's a Stoic guy, which I like Stoicism as well. He talks about how being overwhelmed, overstressed, and like having your mind always occupied, used to always being on your phone, emails, notifications, texts, phone calls, how that messes with your thought process, how you can't have quietness in your head. And, he just talks about how to work through that. He gives some examples of journaling. Anne Frank did that. If you know who Anne Frank is, that's cool. Talked about what JFK did, all that good stuff. It's a great book. I highly suggest it. But I wanted to also dive in some thoughts coming from like a coaching perspective. I was listening to the Jordan Syatt and Mike Vicanti podcast. It's called How to Be a Personal Trainer, online coach, what I prefer. And those two are a great combination to do content together, a podcast and all that, because, well, if you haven't checked out their work, check it out. It's fantastic. One seems to be very like introvert, like not very, but introverted, because so that I think that's Mike. If I had to guess, I don't know Mike personally, so I'm just assuming. Seems like a very great guy. I worked him a little bit, him and Jordan. He seems very introverted, and that's easy for me to say because I too am very introverted, right? So I know what it's like when you're in a conversation with somebody, and I can tell that him and Jordan love each other like brothers. So I don't think that, it has anything to do with that. I'm just saying that I know as an introverted person that talking to people for an extended amount of time, going out to places and all that shit is tiring. Like, it's emotionally tiring. And then sometimes your introvert meter just runs up. You don't really tell people. You just know in your mind, you're like, okay, you just feel it. And it's like, all right, it's time to go because I'm fucking getting exhausted. Sometimes I feel like, that's kind of, I was just listening to at the end of the podcast, at least a recent one, it just happened. And then Syatt, on the other hand, I think he's more extroverted. He's much more open and vulnerable, which I respect about what he goes through and how he really admits a lot of the stuff that a lot of fitness coaches don't want to admit. One being that you don't know all the answers that people ask you. They pride themselves in, helping people for free and just becoming better coaches. So check that out first. So I was just thinking about that today, right? I'm an online coach as well as do in-person training. And, sidebar, my mom's getting surgery. So I've been up all night just like, we're helping her. But when you're an introvert like myself, right, and you're working with people online, a lot of people have, like, you can say meltdowns, weight loss meltdowns. Like, they work out, they jump on the scale, and they feel that they've been working out for X amount of months, and they need to see results, right? So you can tell them the generic shit: calorie deficit, work out harder, rest, recover, hydrate. But the issue I'm having these days is, how do you tell if somebody in their heart thinks they're doing everything correct, and you as the quote unquote expert on the other side is telling them shit and it's not working, or they're just having such strong resistance to whatever you're telling them because, you tell them to do something, they feel like they are. Or maybe what I find out in most cases that a lot of clients are over educated, but not really have enough practical experience in fitness and nutrition. So what that means is they know all the terms, they know calorie deficit, they know, what exercises to do, compound, they know all the terms, all that shit. But they either, for some reason, they just don't do it. you know? So the issue I'm having is telling clients that, you know what, generally speaking, I don't know. Okay, that's it. I don't know. I'm going to help you the best I can. Most of my clients have success, but the shit that really eggs at me is there's also like 10% of clients, 12% of clients who don't get the success, right? Who don't get what they think they're going to get. And I don't know why that is. Like, the program works. I think I'm pretty decent at coaching. I spend a lot of time doing it. I have mentors, all that shit. But there's also a part, the gray area is just like some people are just, for whatever reason, it just seems that that person or people may not get it, right? And this is like, a handful of people, but sometimes those fuck with you, right? Like, you really want these people to get results, but the fact that they're not, as a coach, it can fuck with you. It really can. And back in the day, I would tell people shit like, oh, you should, lower your carbs, go keto, you know, whatever the case is. Because remember, guys, I wrestled for 6 years. So, like, losing weight, I know how to go to bed a little hungrier some days because I know I'm not starving, but I know I don't have like those hunger cravings that most people have. I also don't have a lot of body image issues I know a lot of my clients deal with. I just like to help and train people. That's why I'm into coaching. But the issue is it's hard to relate when you really don't have exact emotional experience with what people go through, such as, looking in the mirror and not looking like what not looking at like what you see, or not feeling sexy in clothes, or getting back down to pre-pregnancy weight. Like, those really aren't my, I would say, strong suits. Over the years, I've had put a lot of practice in. So I'm thankful for that on solving those problems. But the issue with people is I find it very frustrating because, like, getting in shape is not hard to do. It's the mental aspect of that you really don't understand unless you're in it. You always say this, but you just really don't understand it. And a lot of my clients is like, they feel like they work hard and they're losing weight, but it's like there's something that you're not doing. And I really don't know what it is. And I know you're running out of patience. And some days so am I. But it's a little bit more like, I wish it was as simple as do this, do that, and get X results, right? Eat better, work out harder, lose weight. There's so much more in between what people think, like what people preach about, and what actually generally happens. This is how it generally happens. You work out, you eat, you gain weight. You work out harder, you eat right, you gain weight. Only for you've been doing it for 2 weeks. And you're like, why the hell am I gaining weight? Or sample B is you work out, you eat right, you lose the weight, depending on how much weight you have to lose, and then you either stall or gain weight. And then some people just go into an extreme starvation diet of just not eating anything to hopefully lose the weight more, and work out harder, which leads to injury and burnout. Or people just get in their head and research 30 blogs about what to do next, or, and at this point, I don't really know how to slow people's anxieties and stuff like that outside of the gym that play effect in people overcompensating in little stuff like at the dinner table, as far as what brand of like cooking oil, how much fruits and vegetables you should eat, like, how many almonds and walnuts you should have, like 5.5 or 6. It must have been that, or the 2 Oreos that you didn't tell me you ate that you feel. It's just like, at the end of the day, fitness is one of those things that we know the benefits, we know how to lose weight, but there's also some parts that we just can't explain that happens in people's lives. Like, COVID has a fucking, people have everlasting respects after COVID, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that it's hard to really put in the context of why people might be gaining weight, even though they're doing everything right. But it's also hard to admit that a lot of people don't know what the hell they're talking about. A lot of people don't, and they're just saying stuff. And it's much easier just to say stuff to make people feel better. But the issue is that a lot of people, like I said, are overeducated when it comes to this fitness stuff. They're very knowledgeable, and then they want to kind of like I don't want to say debate, but nothing seems to their listening ears aren't aren't on because they feel that they're doing everything right, but just not losing weight. But the fact of the matter is you're not doing everything right. That's just a fact. If you have no thyroid issues and you have no kind of like, internal issues, then you're doing something wrong. And that's where you have to, I would say, have a hard talk with yourself. Like, first be patient. If you are gaining weight and you have not tracked anything for 3 months, have no idea about like how to work out hard or whatever the case is, haven't been hydrating. If you haven't been tracking for like 3 months, I don't understand how you think if you tracked it for 18 consecutive days, what change do you expect? I don't know. Same thing as if you feel like you've been working out hard, but you just feel like it and you don't have any proof of exactly what you've been doing, like to the detail, it's hard to say, it's hard to kind of like assess that. Now, this is just if you want to lose, if you're really goal driven, like if that's your thing. Other people are just like, hey, I like to work out and have a good time. Like that's me. They're just like, I just want to move, be healthy, get the blood flowing, eat a little freaking lasagna here and there, drink some red wine or whatever. And that's fantastic. I think that's great. And that's fine. But the issue comes when that person who's just trying to casually work out starts to say, well, what results do I have? That's when the mix-up starts to happen. So I said all that to say that I'm babbling because I'm about to watch them get up, and I have some writing to do, and I honestly want to write content, but the freaking editing process, and it's just, I find it very long and challenging. But I just wanted to share my thoughts. It was a little rambunctious because it's just, like I said, I'm getting this to help me clarify, organize my writing to get these thoughts out to you guys. And maybe you watched the whole, 12 and 12 and a half minutes or so. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I bored you at the beginning, But if I didn't, great. If I did, go watch TikTok.